Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. Today it is a beautiful mid-May day here in Southwest Florida. It's a little warm, but the orchids are just loving it. What I want to do today is focus on a couple of plants in my collection, and these are two plants that I obtained not quite a year ago from Palmer Orchids in Bradenton, Florida. And both these plants are giving right now first blooms on their plants. The first one is Cattleya forbesii, and the second one is Encyclia cordigera. The forbesii is right here, and so let's talk about that first. Well, let me back up a little bit. When I went to Palmer Orchids, the idea was to expand my collection a little bit and pick up some species in addition to some named crosses that I typically really like and really go for. Again, I like the big blooms, fragrance, and I was listening to some of my colleagues and my orchid breeding colleagues who suggested that I expand my collection and get into species. And the reason that you do this is to expand the germplasm that I'm using in my breeding program, but also the species tend to be a little bit more fragrant. And then when you use these in the breeding programs, it tends to provide some fragrance to the progeny plants that are recovered. And so that was the intent going in. And I succeeded in part of this fragrance endeavor, but I don't think I did well in one of the other ones. I should also say I have a lot of plants that are blooming, and we'll get to those in some other videos. Some plants that are just starting. My orchids in general are just really thriving this time of the year and putting out a lot of new growths and blooms. And I've got other first blooms that I'll share with you as well. So let's talk about Cattleya forbesii, which is right here. And this was a small plant and is a small plant. I've seen other plants that are a little bit bigger. This is when I look at the tag, this says Cattleya forbesii times Sib. So what's done a lot in the orchid world is, rather than self the plants, they'll make a cross with a sibling of this same plant. So it kind of prevents too many recessive traits stacking up if you continually to self the plant. It's not really that much different, but it's different enough so that at least at Palmer Orchids they do a lot of Sib crosses. This is a plant that's a little small. It has a really nice, cute bloom. I'll get a close-up of this bloom, and it actually, on this plant, I've got a bloom open and a second bloom that is coming. The plant bloom itself, for me, is not that exciting. It really has an interesting, throat and lip to it. But the petals are kind of a yellowish greenish color, and this is what you get in many cases with some of these species. It seems to be, it put out, it's been growing. I've had it in my collection, like I said, for about a year, and it's been growing a lot in this small pot, and the blooms, of course, come out of the new pseudobulbs. Right now, this plant only has two blooms, and each bloom spike just has one bloom on it. As far as the fragrance goes on this plant, to me, it is. It's not a real great fragrance. It smells just like a fresh cut plant fragrance. And when I first smelled it, I thought, well, that it smelled a little bit like some insect repellent that I put on myself. I'm in Southwest Florida, and if I sit down in here without putting insect repellent on, I'll just get eaten up. The mosquitoes love me. Yes, even midday in Southwest Florida, the mosquitoes are out feeding. So I thought, well, okay, maybe I had this on my hands and I was smelling this, but it's dissipated, and it just has I mean, it's just a fresh cut green smell that's associated with not a real floral fragrance of any kind that's associated with it. You know, it really does have an interesting lip, so I may use this in breeding. I don't know. I'll collect the pollinia, but I don't want to use this plant because it really is so small for any crosses. Maybe this flower when it opens, you can tell there's already some damage of some kind that's on the flower. So I might, if that flower is less attractive, I might use it for some crosses. I'm not sure what I would cross onto it other than something big where they'll do some interesting things with the lip. And anyway, Cattleya forbesii is you know, it's a nice plant. Small stature, which is again one of the things that I would be looking for in orchids and orchid crosses. And so this just, it's a nice plant to have. And again, everyone tells me get species, and forbesii is one of them in your breeding program, and you'll be happy. So I'll try some things with it. So anyway, this is my first bloom on this Cattleya forbesii. So that's number one. The second one that I want to share with you, I've shared with you previously, and this is Encyclia cordigera, and this is the one right here. I really like this plant for a few reasons, and well, let me back up a little bit. This is Encyclia cordigera. I've had other people call it cordigera, and I'm not sure what the pronunciation, but when I looked at the name, cordigera is how it, for me, it's how it should be pronounced. Anyway, this is a really nice plant. I've had this plant also for about a year, and the thing that I like about this plant is the beautiful base of this pseudobulb. It's fairly large. Glossy, it's very plump. It does well under the conditions that I put it in, which is I treat it similar to my other Cattleyas. And it's done well. It put out a fairly large bloom spike, and I counted, I think there's 10 blooms on this bloom spike. I actually had to stake it up because of where it was hanging. It was even leaning over a little bit more, and I was a little bit afraid. That's what the stake is for right here. I was a little bit afraid of, with the bird action that I have around my orchids, that a bird would land on it and crack the stem. So it is supported, and I took it off just so it could fall down, so it would be a little better of something to look at. This plant, like I said, is doing really well under these conditions. This is called Encyclia cordigera, variety rosea. I think the cultivar is dark. So this Encyclia, this cordigera, tends to have a darker bloom than most of the cordigeras that I've seen. The thing that I really like about this cordigera is the fragrance, and I'm gonna get it down to remind myself. Oh, man. Okay, so it's still there. I've had people tell me that the cordigera is fragrant, mostly in the morning, and it dissipates later in the day. This thing is fragrant from what I've seen all day. I come in, and it's really fragrant as well. I mean, I come out in the afternoon, I come out in the morning. It's fragrant all the time, and the fragrance, the best descriptor is roses. So this, and I grow roses, and I really go for fragrance, and with the roses that I have grown, I also go for fragrance with those. This just smells straight roses to me, and there's a lot of subtlety as far, the roses. You can have spicy, you can have minty, you can have all other different types of fragrances, but this smells like this is a classical rose smell, at least to me. So I really like that about this plant. I've had other people say that, or I've heard other people say that the fragrance of some of the cordigeras are chocolate, or vanilla chocolate or something chocolate. And this is Sharry Baby right here that's going to be exploding with blooms in probably a couple of weeks. But this is the first bloom spike, and I think I counted 7 bloom spikes on my Sharry Baby, which is up here. And this is no doubt chocolate. So this Oncidium Sharry Baby, it's actually, to me, it smells like milk chocolate. It's a real sweet chocolate fragrance from the Sharry Baby. And I've got these two right next to each other, and to me, there's no question. This is sweet chocolate, and this is classical rose fragrance. The Encyclia cordigera is doing well under the conditions. My understanding is that it likes to be not too wet, so I have it growing in, like I do with most of my Cattleyas, I have it growing in lava stone and leca, and it seems to be doing well. I'm looking at the roots down here, and they seem to be intertwined and growing down into the leca. I've got 2 new pseudobulbs growing out of this bulb as it's flowering, so apparently it likes the conditions under which it is growing. So I really like the Encyclia cordigera. It's a species. I'm definitely going to use this in my crosses. Big flower, nice, intense coloration to it, and this is a winner. This is a really nice plant that will do well if you can grow Cattleyas. Very similar conditions. Again, my understanding is just not too wet. It likes to get dried out in between. The other Encyclia that I wanted to share with you, even though I'm focusing on cordigera, I have a tampensis right here, because this is, and I've shared with you some of my tampensis before, but they're still not quite peak bloom. It's not even close to peak bloom on this. And cordigera flowers before tampensis, that's right here. This is my first bloom on this plant. It's right here, but I've got another tampensis right here that has, I think I counted 5 bloom spikes coming out on this tampensis here. This one I grew from seed. This one I actually was a wild plant that the owner. Is that another bloom spike coming out? No, it's an old one. That the owner of the property was chopping the tree down, and she needed a place for this to go. So this was a rescued native wild plant. This is a progeny right here of a native plant. So anyway, I've got a lot of my tampensis, Encyclia tampensis, that are just starting to put out bloom spikes and just starting to bloom, and this is my first bloom from this plant that I'm pretty excited about. And I'm putting it here because I've got another Encyclia species right over here, and you can just see the contrast in the plant itself. Flower spikes, bloom. I mean, they both have these, the large bulbs at the base, and these bulbs here are large for tampensis, but they're nowhere near as large as you get with a cordigera. Okay, so I just wanted to share that Encyclia tampensis first bloom, Encyclia cordigera first bloom, and the Cattleya forbesii right here first bloom. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you enjoyed my video and you want to keep on seeing my videos, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. I can also mention that if you want to contact me through email about anything, you can contact me at theplantpropagator@yahoo.com. That's my YouTube email contact information that some of you may have difficulty finding. So feel free to contact me if you want to, if you have any questions. If you want to put something in the comments, that's fine too, and I'd be happy to respond to that. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed my video, and happy propagating.